Here's Candace Owens doing that same thing. This is the war that they're waging. They do not want, and again, these corporations, they're not genuine allies. They're doing what they thought would make them some money. But when they cave like this, it does more damage. It is the idea that these right-wingers can intimidate them is problematic. They have done this for years. They would do it, whether it was with Howard Stern, 30 years ago, or whether they would do it with, I don't know, Art, Mapplethorpe. They just have turned their ire towards transgender people because that's what the Republican Party has basically, sort of requested of them. Here is Candace Owens, one of the fundamentalists over at Daily Wire.
Target has very much been clear about what they think. Target, as I said before, was the first corporation to really take a stand and to say, we are going to support the transgendered individuals. We're going to allow men to use female bathrooms if that's how they feel on the inside. And they haven't shied away from that perspective whatsoever. They still aren't. They haven't issued a statement, very different from the Bud Light controversy, where the CEO, even though he didn't go so far as to condemn the trans movement, said, this was actually a big this happened in a department. We're not aware this was happening. Somebody created this can. Not Target. Target isn't saying that. Target knows that this is actually what they believe in. Target now got caught going a little further than they normally go by selling Tuck swimwear, and they didn't expect the consumers to react in the way that they did. But these are actually Target's beliefs. And so Target should stand by them. Target should be honest. They should say that they don't like conservatives because they don't. That is the truth. If you vote Republican, if you are a conservative, or if you're a Democrat and you're a person that just thinks that the talk about sex and gender children should be abstained entirely, they don't like you. They believe that children need to be a part of this conversation. I have made clear my belief that I think that what is happening in some of these corporations and organizations is that you have perverted gay men at the top of them. I believe that what we are facing and what we are about to face in the near future is pedophilia. I believe that that is 1 inch away from transgenderism. We are this close. And the reason why they're pretending it's about children being able to have the authority to decide on what their sex and their gender is because the next move is going to be, we don't need parents at all. And you're going to see a bunch of perverts that are going to be trying to say, you can also decide who you want to sleep with. These are my personal beliefs. I've shared them many, many times. And that is what I think if we really dug into this and we started figuring out who was behind all of these protests, you would find that there are people that are interested in pedophilia.
What do you think the ratio of how many videos this fundamentalist has cut attacking transgender or gay people as being pedophiles is to the recent revelations that in Illinois there have been thousands of instances of pedophilia within the Catholic Church. And I think there's another state that just came out with, what was it, Oregon?
I'm not sure, but just like talk about organizations with pedophilia at the top that she's referring to.
I mean, if she was really on top of fighting pedophilia, the words Catholic would probably be on her lips a lot more than we've seen. It's odd. She's fighting hypothetical pedophilia and what she presumes will be pedophilia for some reason. And there's really no clear, the idea is that parents who choose to bring their kids into Target and choose to buy this stuff or choose to provide, gender affirming healthcare are eliminating their own existence. And once the parents are eliminated from the existence of their children can have sex with all of these predators is her theory, as opposed to there's actual pedophilia that has been going on in our midst, and she doesn't seem to have any issue with that whatsoever.
Yeah, so just to give some context here, Sam, on May 23rd, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul released a nearly 700-page report at the time that that investigation began, only 2 dioceses had identified 103 credibly accused priests of sex abuse. The report found 451 Catholic clerics and religious brothers had abused at least 1,997 children across the state's dioceses. On April 4th, Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown released a report on an investigation begun in 2018 that found 156 Catholic priests and others associated with the Archdiocese of Baltimore had sexually abused more than 600 children over 80 years.
And to be clear, this is just what they found. This is just what they can actually document and prove.
Right.
Let alone what we've known from like the very famous investigative report in the Boston Globe and all the subsequent reports that came after that. It's just keeps on going.
We have a couple of people in the chat who say like, fundamentalists are historically anti-Catholic, so it's not conceivable that they're next. Candace would make a distinction between Protestants and Catholics. Well, I'd like to see that. Yeah. I'd actually like to see a debate between Matt Walsh and Candace Owens
good point.
about the pedophilia in their respective churches. That would be an interesting debate. That would be an interesting debate. I mean, look, we know Matt Walsh has a big history of this and of this stuff. He simply does. He's deleted posts and tweets, and because it's with Media Matters, we're not supposed to talk about it.
Right. Well,
because the organization that is dedicated to documenting what these guys say actually document what they say. That there, it's necessarily in some way illegitimate, but he knows it.
Matt Walsh was just in those clips, older clips, talking about the age of consent and wanting to lower it. Like that's what Matt Walsh wants. He wants to prevent pedophilia by just making sure that children are in marriages as soon as humanly possible.
Right. Even since historically, women are more fertile around age 16 or whatever he said in that radio show or podcast he was doing. Therefore, those marriages were more seen as viable or more, that's traditional marriage, right, as it was described.
In a 2013 blog post, in modern Western society, we've delayed the onset of adulthood, instead inventing a new sort of human, quote, the teenager. The teenager exists in this limbo, which we've created. We call it, quote, adolescence. Adolescence is a state-of-the-art modern innovation like crack cocaine or chemical warfare. He doesn't like adolescence. Adolescence isn't a product of brain chemistry. It's a product for our expectations. If we expect 23-year-olds to act like they're 13, then we will get just that. For thousands of years, 13-year-olds were expected to act like they're 23, and those expectations were met. At about 16, you're an adult who is mature and can make decisions. You are at 16. I don't care what anybody says. And if you're going to tell me it's different, well, then how come for the first 100,000 years of human civilization it was that way? It's just recently, all of a sudden, we're all are until we're 25. You understand what's going on here. He's arguing that you have the right to get involved in and like, what's denied? Is he saying that 16-year-olds should vote? I think he's probably been on record saying he doesn't like young people voting. Is he saying that 16-year-olds should do what? We all know what he's talking about.
Well, they can enter into the workforce maybe because they can get paid a little bit less, and then once they're sexually ripe, they can procreate as much as possible.
He's been on record for questioning how
if God
puritanical we are about these things.
If God gives girls periods, that means they're ready for insemination. That's what he's essentially, that's his worldview.
Yeah, and it's also interesting how that intersects with the whole idea of what Candace was saying about this impending separation of parental oversight.
And she's connecting pedophilia to gay people.
So once
gay people at the top.
Once parents are removed from the equation, then those who makes those decisions, I think it just matters about what their sexual orientation or their, specifically how they comport.
I would just like to see a debate between them, between Candace Owens and Matt Walsh on this topic of these pedophiles, because, but we're not going to get that.